Hello, trading has closed on January 28th, 2022. Let's do our disclaimer, review our calls, and make some predictions. It's my trading plan for Monday, January 31st. Remember, I can be wrong. Any trade you make should be at your own risk. I said Thursday's pattern was a weak pattern. I looked for lower prices, perhaps much lower. We traded 30 points under the close, so that's enough, but I certainly did not call a rally like this one. The pattern we said would have the early low, which this is, and Monday's pattern should also have the early low. This is a wall into the close, so there's a good likelihood we gap down at Monday's open. But the other side of the coin is a strong rally on Friday nearly always carries through into Monday's open. So I have conflicting indicators there. If we do gap up here, it's a lot more strength than I'd like to see because it's taking us well past, not just slightly past, the FOMC price. And the rule I have is you would trade past the price higher by a greater amount than you traded under it, and that would take us well into the 4600s. And I don't have any count which says this drop is completed, and if we went way up in the 4600s and that worked, my whole count would be killed, which I wouldn't like, but it's happened before. In the afternoon, MEJT properly identified all these moves as false, and they retraced. We did get a buy signal early on, but this is actually one of my favorite patterns. If a buy signal here, you take out the high of day at this time, it's pretty much a given. You're going to retrace to this line before the day's out. I can't remember the last time it didn't work, but it sure didn't work today. Now the system gives us until early Tuesday to return to this line. That's how I get the target. But this is very unusual when one of your things doesn't work the way it's supposed to work. You really have to question everything. Now it could all be set right if we move down smartly on Monday, but that hasn't happened yet. Look at the daily chart. You really rallied to resistance, but not through it. You have your 200-day moving average. You have your FIB stuff here. You really haven't cleared the high from 2 days ago. We stop here and we drop. In the scheme of things, 200 has held. And if this is as big a top as I think it is, you really don't want to trade much over your 200 moving average. That typically holds if you're going to have a tank. This was the count that I had. I had wave black 3 being completed. This would be black 4, and then I'm hoping for a black 5, but I don't think it's the only count. The waves don't really balance up. This count doesn't break any rules, and it has us still in wave black 3. It has ABC with a good fib relationship there, and it has an ABC with C equal to A right at today's high. So if we do stop right at today's high, there's a count which explains it, and then we'd be in wave red 5, a black 3, a down, and there'd be a ways to go. And this count wouldn't be killed. We trade up here over this area, the whole count's killed, and I don't really have a good way to count this. These are my calls for the patterns for next week. Monday's pattern does have the early low. We could still gap up. Normally the day's bullish with a fine lower high, but if it's weak, there's more weakness to come. There is a lower MEJT target, and if we don't gap up smartly, it should print by early Tuesday. A strong rally on Friday nearly always carries through into Monday's open. It's quite negative if we gap down instead, even though the gap does get filled at some time. We rally to resistance in a straight line. If we're to continue higher, we should gap over that resistance. If that happens, today's VIX Bollinger Band reversal buy signals confirmed, and the FOMC whipsaw would target a rally of 200 points or so from today's close. Would kill my wave count and take us well past the 200-day moving average, and that's not what I would expect if this month's top is as significant as I think it is. Norm Winsky has a change in trend over the weekend, and if it works, we should see the target over 100 points under today's close. I expect this to be in wave 5 of 3 down, with one pattern based on someone else's work having us trade near the 42.14 MEJT target midday on Wednesday, give or take a little bit. I don't have a wave count which says this decline's over, and breadth as measured by this indicator deteriorated even though we had a strong rally today. Accordingly, I'm hoping to see a drop right from the open Monday, ideally by gapping down, and the wall into the close makes this plausible. But it's not guaranteed, and if we continue higher instead, then as of now I don't really have a good plan on how to trade it. So if we drop right from the open, everything's going according to plan. If we go higher, I'm kind of at a loss as to what to do, because that messes up the counts I have. And strong rallies like that after a major top, when you have breadth still deteriorating, really, it's not something I'm used to seeing. So Monday has a really low. We hope we drop from the open, but if we go up, then I'm just wrong. And that's today's call.